Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I'm so excited to have you guys here with me today, and I'm really excited to bring my guest in because we're going to talk about a little bit more of like the personal sides of business and becoming an entrepreneur, and then things that, cause life shifts. I was going to say other words. Life shifts and how that helps you grow, as a person and the way that we evolve. And I just think that it's really important for, when we talk about our businesses or we talk about things that we're doing, to also make the connection, that personal connection of why we decided to do what we were doing and the things that we've been through because of that. I think that it gives us an insight to everyone else's perspective and the stuff that we don't get to see when you do see someone that is building a business and stuff like that. You're like, oh, you get to be your own boss, set your own hours. And it's like, oh, that's like 2% of all the things. Speaking of, that's why I'm in a hotel room recording today instead of at home. So anyway, entrepreneurship. Danielle, thank you so much. Danielle, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
No, yay. I'm so excited to have this conversation. We had such a heartfelt conversation the last time. We really kind of talked about some of the things that you went through and the shifts that have happened for you and, just life that happens that we forget that people go through when we see that they're trying to run their business or do their own thing. And so, let's kind of back up then and start with tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so my name is Danielle Dill. I am the owner of Behind the Scenes Genius. So the way I like to put what I do is I like to take a website that's a glorified four-figure business card and turn it into something that actually works for you. Because for the price point you spend on a website, it should do more than just sit there and look pretty. It needs to function, needs to do things. So I do all sorts of the techie things in the back end. I build websites, SEO, Google Ads, basically anything techie that everyone normally hates to touch with a 10-foot pole.
Definitely one of those. I don't want to touch the SEO. I know that we need it. I don't want to touch it. I love this though that you put, this glorified like card that we put out there, right? We're like, I have a website. I am official. And then there's nothing else to it. There's no traffic that's drove to it. Nobody even knows it exists unless you're sharing it. And I think that, for a lot of us too, we're also putting ourselves out on social media and stuff like that. And so that almost becomes like your calling card or your business card, your face of it. And I almost feel like your website is like more of the in-depth, right? Like if you don't want to try to scroll through social to figure out what somebody does, the website is going to be like, bam, this is who it is, this is what they do, or this is what they help with, and here's how you can do more things, right? And even I struggle with that when I first set up my website because, well, one, I tried doing it myself, and let me tell you, blah, that was fun. But two, it is understanding how to position the website and then how do you drive people back to it? Because even after I got it set up, I got my updates. It was like, oh, you had like 3 clicks
or 5 clicks. And I'm like, oh, I thought everybody went to the website. So I think that there is another component in there that we're not aware of as well that can really help that at the same time. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree. So the way I see it is social media is great. It's kind of like putting out like an advertisement, like having that like flashing banner, like, hey, come look at me. But I think your website is where you need to bring people to. And I know I'm going to age myself with this. The thing that I loathe a little bit about relying solely on social media too heavily for things is that social media platforms die. I'm going to age myself when I bring up MySpace.
She went there. She went there. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. I had MySpace. We're good. We're good.
I mean, MySpace is basically dead. And platforms live and breathe. And I mean, we've just in the last year, everyone has been threatened with losing TikTok. How many businesses run off TikTok? I mean, that's another case in point of everyone who runs their business solely on TikTok is at risk of losing their entire business. And then I've seen with Etsy. Etsy has been doing some stuff, changing some things up. And I've seen some people who've been on there like, we're leaving the platform, we're going elsewhere. And they're kind of, hurting from it. So it's kind of one of those things, as the age old saying goes, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Definitely agree with that. Well, and you don't own your information either, right? I mean, it's great to be connected and things like that, but we also need to be driving people back to something where we get to keep the information so that we can grow in our business, right? And the website is definitely a really great thing. I mean, if you've got some type of email campaign or something that people can sign up on your socials to get to there, awesome, right? But having that external hold on who you are talking to and connecting with. I mean, because you're right, you don't have access to all that, and things happen. I can't tell you how many friends of mine who are entrepreneurs that lost their Facebook. Like, for some reason it got shut down, for some reason they got locked out, whatever the case may be, and they literally lost everyone they were connected with. Well, nobody thinks to go and like look you up again, right? To be like, oh, that's weird. I haven't seen them on Facebook. Where are they at, right? So like they lost everything. Now, two of them were very lucky after like a week and a half. For some reason, it like unlocked and they got it, whatever, and they got it back. But it's things like that where you're like, you're totally right. You can't put all of your eggs in one basket. You've got to make sure that you have a way to connect with people, stay in front of people, and make sure that you can reach them in a platform or an arena where you have more of the control versus just social media. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it's definitely about, you know, having different ways people find you from wherever and bringing them on, whether it's SEO, social media, networking, whatever that be, and then utilizing bringing them all to your website and utilizing your website to get them to sign up, to want to be part of your email list so that you control the information. Because if ConvertKit, or sorry, Kit, that's change. I have to get used to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know they changed that. So that's
yeah,
interesting. That's a new one I
officially
learned.
went there again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, go.
Yeah. So now ConvertKit is Kit. But if something like Kit or like MailChimp or something, if they decided to close their doors, you can take your list elsewhere. You can't take your social media following to a different platform though.
Yep.
So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Now I kind of want to, kind of reel this into a little bit as to, like why you got into this and kind of your backstory to kind of give people an idea of like the journey and all the things that you have faced, because I think that sometimes we forget that when we get into business, we came from something which helped us build this. It's not like you just woke up one day and you're like, I'm going to build websites because that's what I know I'm supposed to do. And I've had this epiphany and I know how to do it. And now everything is easy.
Yeah, if only it was like on your 18th birthday, like a magical flip switches, and you're just like, oh, this one I knew. I have all the knowledge.
I'm supposed to do, and I have all the knowledge that I need to have. Like, no, I mean, right? It's real life, and so give us a little bit of a background. Like, how did you even get started in this to begin with? What made you want to help people with websites and do all the tech things? Obviously, you probably enjoy it. My husband loves tech and all that stuff. I'm kind of in the middle. It depends. But yeah, give us a little bit of a background then. Like, how did you even get to this point, and what's kind of been your journey through all of this?
Yeah, so starting my business, um, so to bring up MySpace, I discovered coding HTML and CSS languages and stuff through MySpace.
Really?
Yeah, all the like the profile customizations and all the fun stuff.
Oh, okay.
That was where what I loved about it, because you could play around with it. And of course, the ADHD, undiagnosed at the time in high school, loved to be able to go in and just change things up all the time. Um, so that was kind of where I discovered it. And when I discovered it there, I had started to dive deeper into it. And I became the kid in high school. Now, to paint a picture, in high school, I listened to country music. I look normal now, but in high school, I was very much the like wearing all black, you know, black lipstick, Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, Green Day, Sum
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I
41.
mean, I
Yeah.
like Green Day, and anyway, that's a whole nother topic.
So
That's
I was that kid in high school in honors and AP classes who would come home from school and teach myself coding languages for fun after my extracurriculars.
yeah, you got me on that one. I was a sports kid. I mean, I loved all kinds of things. That is not one of them. So kudos to you because we need you in this world. This is why I need you in my because there's no way that's so much. But that's awesome. So all the way back in high school,
Yeah,
you
so
were
I
interested.
discovered websites
Okay.
in high school. Um, and I think I built my first one in high school, kind of like playing around with like the old school when like it was all like hand coded HTML and CSS kind of thing back in the day. And then I fell out of it for a little bit. I ended up moving from Illinois to Oklahoma. And then I ended up losing my father shortly after. And for me, losing my father when I was 19, roughly, was kind of an eye opener because you don't expect to lose a parent at 19 when they're in their mid 50s,
Hmm.
and you look back, and I always try to look at what's the lesson, what did I learn, what's something I could take away from it. And I I look back as my takeaway was time is short. You're not promised retirement, and I love my parents to death, but I was the observant teenager who watched them quite literally hate their jobs. Every day
Hmm.
it was like they lived for the weekend.
Yeah.
And there's a Good Charlotte song called The Anthem. And there's a line in it that says, I don't want to be like you. I don't want to do the things you do. And I think that was a precursor for me of I don't want to be like my parents and live that way. I don't want to
Hmm.
be the person living for the weekend, hating your job just in that 9 to 5 grind of just, it's another day.
Yeah.
So after a while, I went back to college. I had got my associates in website management. And so I have that degree, that knowledge, but a lot of what I do and what I draw on is also from being self-taught. So that for me is part of one of those like you don't have to have all of the knowledge from school to do everything.
Hmm.
Part of it is getting your feet wet and doing the thing and learning by trial and error. So
The old school trial and error. Still to this day, it works. It does.
it
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 sucks.
does. It sucks, but it works. Yeah.
That's really neat. So okay. So fast forward, when did you decide to like start your own business and just kind of dive into helping people in that arena?
Yeah. So 2019, I started my business. And the series of events that kind of led up to it was I was working full time for a large retail pharmacy chain. I'm not going to spit out names. Um, and having a series of worse and worse working conditions,
Mm.
hours getting cut back, all sorts of chaos. And I had also been putting myself through school part time while working full time. And I hit a point where I was a few months from graduating and I was like, I cannot do this. I cannot go into work one more day. I am that miserable. So I
Oh
quit.
wow.
I felt horrible about quitting because I was like, but they rely on me and I'm shortchanging my coworkers. And my husband was like, if you do not quit, I will text your boss that you quit from your phone. Practically. He was probably at that point where he was like, I will quit for you.
Wow. You know what though? Kudos to him. Like that is
Yeah.
hella support
Yeah.
to be in that space.
Yeah. My husband has always, even in, I'm sure as you know, those moments in entrepreneurship where you're like, maybe I should give up. Maybe I should throw in the towel and just call it quits. He has always
Mhm.
been the one to be like, nope, not going to let you do that. Yeah.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So okay, so you started in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
but then we have COVID
Yep.
like right around the corner.
Yep.
So what she's like, yep, this is where the real comes in. Okay, so we're starting a business, we're getting things together, we're doing something that we've been loving since we were the age of 18 or prior to that. What happens now? You know, because COVID, I know, shifted a lot of things for people. Now I'm sure that you were probably doing a lot of stuff online already and building those connections and stuff, but I do feel like COVID like flipped everybody on their head. So what kind of went through that space as you're in the middle of building a brand new business?
Yeah.
Like that's hard enough, and then you throw everything else in, like wanting to throw in the towel. Definitely I can see that being a
Oh,
core
yeah.
piece.
There's been a couple of those moments over the years. It's as I have learned, it's completely normal. So if anyone is feeling that, know that you're normal. You're not alone. You are completely sane. Take a few days, dust yourself off, pick yourself back up, take a little refresh. Um, so in that moment, I was very much kind of new to things. I was trying to figure out part of those elements of the way in which I do it,
Mm,
what makes me different. Because I think that's one of those things you have to figure out as an entrepreneur. And you can only do that by doing the thing, by trying something
yeah.
and figuring it out and going, or experience. I like that. That was crappy for that person to do. And just kind of like, where do you fall? How do you do things? What's your experience? All of that stuff. Um, so I ended up having a lot of success locally through like connections because there's some family members who are in business, and that's kind of what helped me kind of give me the space to figure stuff out
Hmm.
through the chaos of COVID. And so COVID was very much a time of, as the saying goes, throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to see what sticks. I hate that expression, but it's a perfect
I know,
example of it.
I know. It's stupid,
It
but it
is stupid.
fits.
But that was for me, that was the first couple of years. That was probably into 2021. It was just trying to figure out the way I do things, trying to navigate COVID and all of those interesting pieces
Hmm.
of, I went through so many iterations of my logo and my website and trying to talk about how I do what I do and all of those things. But yeah, I mean, I think my connections locally are what helped me kind of be able to just kind of play around with things and figure stuff out in my
Hmm.
own time and not have to like stress too much.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you said, trial and error, right? Because I know that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people, right? They're like, if you want to be a coach, this is how you do it. And then everybody tries to follow that model. And I was always one of those people that every time I sat through something like that and I learned a little bit, I was like, okay, I like this, but I don't agree with that. And it's really hard to, especially when you come from like a regular job, right? We're so conditioned to follow a specific way, to do it the way that it's already been done, that we're kind of sucked out of our creativity mode. And like you said, you were trying to figure out what made you different. And for me, it was the same thing, right? And this doesn't always work for everybody. So, just a heads up. Some people are great. Some people get in, they know what they want to do, they create the systems, they followed somebody else that taught them, and boom, 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 and they're doing exactly what they love. For me, it didn't work that way either. I had 10,000 ideas of things that I wanted to do. And then once I started narrowing them down, I was like, okay, we can focus on this. But it was the same way. It was still this trial by error, right? It's like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to see how this works. Oh, I don't really care for that. Okay, this didn't work with these people, or I don't want to work with this type of person. So it really was kind of making a list of the do's and the don'ts, or the likes and the dislikes, to be able to kind of start branching things down. And I just want people to understand that it can be done both ways. You could wake up one day and be like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing for the rest of my life. Like, I know this, I know where I'm going, and this is the path that I'm going down. Or you may wake up one day and be like, I really want to be able to do this. But then as you start to do it, you're like, I kind of want to tweak it. I think I kind of want to do something a little bit different than that. Or, okay, well, I like doing one-to-ones, but I actually prefer more group. Or I don't really care for the group model, and everybody talks about that because you make so much money. I think I actually prefer more of the one-to-ones. Like, you have to figure out what works for you. And I think that that's not only the beauty in entrepreneurship, but I think that's the beauty that we're missing as a whole, is you get to do life the way you want to do it, right? Like, there's so many, and there's stigmas out there for those that are not in business. Oh, well, do you have the successful job? Are you making this kind of paycheck? Do you have the kids? Do you have the husband, the wife? Do you have this? Do you not have this? Why are you this? Like, there are so many things out there where people are trying to get people to fit into this one box to have like this perfectly laid out life. Well, FYI, in case anybody's listening, there's no such thing as freaking perfect. I have yet to meet one person who hasn't dealt through something in their life that changed them, that pivoted them, that like made them do a complete 360 in their life for where it is that they are now. And I think that that's the really cool part of life in general, is we get to figure that out, but we have to be able to be okay with trial and error and failure and getting back up. Like, that is part of the process. That's how you get to learn. That's how you gain the experience. Like you said, you can read all the books and do all the things, but if you're not experiencing those components and those pieces as well, where are you actually growing? You're getting a lot of knowledge, but you're not actually putting anything into play. So you're not really getting a chance to actually step out on the ledge and say, this makes sense, or no way in hell.
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely think that it's important to acknowledge that there are some people who, especially if they've come from like something corporate where they've been doing the thing, they're just going to go do the thing that they've been doing, on their own. So for them, it's a different kind of transition from someone else who's like, I'm going to go do this now. So
Yeah.
it's a lot less figure out the how or the what you do, and it's more figure out the business side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that part of the beauty of entrepreneurship is I think we get exposed to the trial and error, the stepping outside of the box of like the like norms of life,
Mm-hmm.
that I think we're exposed to it more. And I think so often, especially as an entrepreneur, when you're just chugging away in your office day to day doing your thing, wherever that is, life, it can get lonely as an entrepreneur. So to get out and talk to other people and find out that they've had both similar experiences but different stories, it helps you see that your journey is not different. It's not the same as someone else. It's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that journey is whatever that journey is for you, because that's your story and that's part of how you own it into making it yours and what you do. So for me, part of my journey is going through starting my business in a pandemic, almost losing my husband to that pandemic, and then IVF in the
Mm-hmm.
process of trying to grow my business.
Like, here, we're going to throw a brand new business. We're going to throw all the doubts and everything that you got to go through. But oh, wait a minute. Let's go ahead and let's just wrap in some COVID stuff, almost losing a loved one. Let's go see IVF. I have a couple of people that I know that have gone through that. And let me tell you, you guys are some powerful people, because I don't think I could do that. Like, that is some wild stuff. How Okay. Yeah. So let's just break this down for a second. Okay. So you're in the middle of building a business. You're in the middle of trying to be confident, to figure these things out, to get to a place to where you want to be, where you can enjoy life and be happy and all this, right? Now you throw in COVID stuff. You said you almost lost your husband, right? We'll have to get to that. And then you have IVF. How in the hell did you navigate that? Like, how do you not just throw in the towel and say, that's it, I'm done with everything, the universe is telling me this is not meant to be, I'm just going to sit on my bed with some chocolate and I'm going to cry for a little bit, because this
Um,
is Like,
Plenty of those moments. And in truth, especially with the IVF, it was a lot of giving myself the space in my calendar and the grace to feel whatever the roller coaster of emotion I was having at that day was. If I woke up and I put one foot in my office and I'd sit down and look at the screen and go, nope, not in it today. I'd walk out of the room, I'd go find something else to do, I'd deal with whatever the emotions I was feeling at the time were. And I
mhm.
had that space in my calendar at the time to kind of just give yourself the grace to ride the roller coaster of emotions, because that's basically that's about all you can do is ride the roller coaster of emotions, take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and just figure out what you can maintain. What's the minimum you need to maintain in business to keep things rolling to your standard that also gives you the time and the space and the ability to ride the roller coaster?
Oh, that is, hold on. Let's repeat that one real quick, everybody, so you can hear it in the back. Did you hear that? We're prioritizing. We're finding the things that are the key components that can help us move forward, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's in business or in your personal life. Like, and I love that you talk about giving yourself grace, something that especially us as women are not very good at doing, because we feel like we need to be doing more, we need to be doing more, and we need to be doing more. So I love that. Sorry, continue. I think that that's very important to point out. I love that you were able to do that for yourself, because that was something that took me a really long, hard time to get to, and I still struggle with it sometimes. But that was a really hard one for me, was like just taking a 10-minute break, because I'm like overwhelmed with everything going on and not feeling like I should still be in there doing something. So kudos to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a challenge. I even experience those days where I'm like, but I could be doing this. I have a hard time like taking vacation. But I think it's one of those things to acknowledge when you're going something through something like IVF. I heard, I forget where, but I had heard someone say that second to cancer, IVF is the hardest thing you can put your body through, mentally and
Really?
physically and emotionally. It
Wow.
IVF is such, I have the right word, I don't know if I can cuss.
You're fine. Go ahead.
IVF is such a mind fuck. It
Mm.
screws with your head. All of the things that you think, that you believe, that you know to be true, whatever beliefs you hold on to, it makes you question everything you know down to your core, to the point where you feel like you're some anomaly. Like, even though everything like shows it like looks like it's gonna fail, or this is gonna happen, and you start to like get in your too much in your head about things. And
Mm.
part of it is just trying to like step back. If it's a distraction that you need that day, go find the distraction. If you need a friend to go sit with you and have lunch, or to go shopping and to feel normal, whatever that is, because there's
Mhm.
so many pieces to the IVF process, and everyone's journey, just like being in a business and being an entrepreneur, everyone's journey in IVF is different. What that looks like for one person is not going to be the same as the next.
Now, is that just because like there's so many different hormones and different things that you're having to take and stuff like all at the same time? Is that what it is? Because kind of like an overload for the body?
So part of it is, I mean, the hormones. So IVF, one of the things is it male factor or female factor? What's causing the infertility issue to cause it? So
Hmm.
little like backstory, 2022, in January of that year, my husband and I decided to start, no, 2021, we decided to start trying. Um, we got to August and I was already like, I'm the kind of person, I'm like, I know the numbers. We probably should have been pregnant on our own at that point, most likely. And so I was kind of already talking to the doctor, and then our entire house got COVID.
Mm.
Everyone got better but my husband, to the point where he was taken by ambulance to a hospital. He woke up that morning and I was like, I'm taking you in. I don't care. Like, he's a
They're
typical
so
man.
stubborn. They're
Yes, he's
so
a typical man.
stubborn. What?
Yes. Yes. He's a typical man in that regard with his health and going into the doctor for anything. He waits till he's almost on his deathbed. I have more than
Yep.
one story of that with my actual husband.
I
Yes.
do too. A little stubborn.
Yeah. So I took him in and he got up and he went to like shower and get dressed. And his oxygen was like high 70s after he came down the stairs. And I was like, okay. And we've been monitoring it, kind of watching and checking because he had never
Hmm.
had COVID before. I had it before that. So like, I'm good. It's a head cold for me.
Yeah.
Um, and we took him in to an urgent care, not kind of, sure what they'd say, what they do, like all the things. They called an ambulance and sent him into a hospital where he was for 5 days. Now, thank goodness in my area and where we were in the pandemic, after the first day, I was able to go up with him because he had been outside of that 14-day window. So at this point, he's been
Oh
sick for
wow.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Um, he was is so incredibly close to being intubated and being put on like, you know, on a respirator. Um, he went in, came home 5 days after he went in, and he was on oxygen till October. Missed a bunch of work, all of like the chaos horror stories. And even after that, when he was off the oxygen, he he was taking a couple of medications, like inhalers, because he was having
Hmm.
shortness of breath. He doesn't
Yeah.
get it now. It's kind of worn off, but he's one of the lucky ones who got rid of that kind of long COVID shortness of breath symptom. But we were going through trying to get pregnant and then him almost dying in the middle of that, to then work with the doctor over the few months that he was after he was out of the hospital, to kind of get told we had some male factor issues. And COVID, long story short, I have a baseline. I have a almost 16-year-old stepson. So we have a baseline of knowing pre-COVID things were fine.
Yeah.
Um, so for us, it was kind of looking at, you know, maybe COVID's had an effect. We gave it a few months, tested things again. Wasn't that much change to warrant feeling like things were going to improve anytime soon. So we got
Hmm.
recommended IVF. So for us, it was male factor. For some, it's female factor. There's things like PCOS and endometriosis, and there's all sorts of
Yeah.
hormonal issues. There's all sorts of, every story is individual in terms of just like the what's causing it. And there are some times where it's just unexplained. They can't, everything should be fine. They can't figure out why. Um,
Hmm.
so for part of some people, it's what's causing it has an effect on how they look at things, how they treat stuff. Um,
Okay.
so that's part of one of the individual pieces of IVF. And then, it's it's a science. It's not an exact science. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2. It's not like
Yeah.
math. You know, part of it is trial and error. So, I found out from a friend of the family, who they were going through IVF. They went through their egg retrieval. So the IVF process, if you're totally unfamiliar, you go in, they do a whole like smorgasbord buffet of tests on you, try to identify what's wrong. Is it hormonal? Is it
Hmm.
this? Is it that? And then from there, they go into, you start the process for egg retrieval. So that's where they give you a whole bunch of meds. They get your body to produce more eggs than normal, than just one per cycle. And they go in, they put you under for anesthesia usually, and they take all of them out. And at the time, if you're going to do anything else, that's when they pair things together in a petri dish, basically. And
Hmm.
you kind of just sit around and wait on pins and needles for like 5 days to find out how many of the eggs that they got were mature, how many fertilized, how many have made it to day 5. And then if you choose to do genetic testing, that's another waiting period of, you take a
Oh yeah.
biopsy and they freeze it and then they test it. But as I have learned from a friend of the family, it is possible for them to go in and get nothing and get 0 eggs. And that's what happened to her, I think.
Wow.
And as I was kind of like, I never heard of that. I'm looking up into it. And as I'm looking up on it, it's a thing. If they were to try another egg retrieval, it likely would have the same result. So they had to go the
Interesting.
route of having an egg donor. So, everyone's story is entirely different in all of those things. There's so many pieces. So once you go through egg retrieval, assuming that they've ended up with embryos to transfer, you then go through transfer, they give you more meds for that, and you kind of cross your fingers and wait for 10 to 14 days and try to
I'm
do
stressed out
all of the
listening,
things.
Danielle. So much.
Yeah.
So
It's
much. We women go
it's
through
a
so much hell. Just FYI. Okay, go ahead.
it's a stressful process. And as I have heard many people in the IVF community state, it is the club you never wanted to be invited into.
Mm,
It's something that every woman who's never been through it says, I don't know that I could. But when you're faced with go through IVF to have kids or not,
yeah.
you find the courage somehow to get through to the other side. And you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was a hard thing I did. I don't want that badge of honor. You know, I don't want that as part of my story. I wouldn't wish that on anyone else, but it's something you did. And yeah, it's a stressful process because there's a lot of hurry up and wait. Just like everything else in the medical world, it's hurry up and wait. It's hurry
Mm-hmm.
up and do this test and then wait for the results. Hurry up and wait for this. So you're always hurrying up to do the next thing and then waiting. And the waiting is the hardest part because you're waiting for results. And I think I think for a lot of women, for a lot of especially entrepreneurs, we're used to being in control of things like in the business. We're
Yep.
used to being able to control that. So when you have to step into being an IVF patient, you feel like you have zero control. You
Mm-hmm.
are just at the mercy of however things are going to turn out. It's not like you can sit down and figure out, well, that didn't work. Let's try this route with business or let's do this. It's not like you have numbers to look at and you can, pivot and figure things out. There is none of that.
Yeah. Do
Totally
you
at the mercy.
do you feel like, with everything that you've been through and all the things that you've experienced and that you've made it through, do you feel like that's kind of helped you kind of almost have like this own like resiliency in like your business and life in general, just because you have something to say, like, if I face that, right, I can do this. Like, do you feel like any of that kind of transferred over into helping you shift how maybe you were running your business before and how you've just kind of done life in general?
I do think so. And I have to say, I think it was a long transition, not a short transition. It wasn't like an overnight thing. For me, we we were one of the lucky ones who got pregnant on our first transfer. So I have a 2-year old little girl who is my little IVF baby, and I am pregnant with IVF baby number 2.
Oh,
So
congratulations!
it has it is one of those things as an IVF mom I don't take lightly because I know that there are IVF moms who go through the process who they don't have all the success stories. They don't
Hmm.
have the it worked for you the first try. They have failed transfer after failed transfer after failed transfer. And part of it is one step at a time and with each stage looking at, do you want to take the next step? Are you okay for it? Are you mentally able to? And coming out of it the other side, having an IVF baby that I love dearly, um, I spent the entire pregnancy feeling like it was surreal. Like it wasn't real. Like somehow it wasn't happening to me because you want it so long and so much that when you
Hmm.
finally get it, your mind starts to trick you. And I remember the first thought when they laid her on me after she was born was, she's real. She's here. That was my first thought.
Oh.
And it's that kind of like it screws with your head. So
Hmm.
for me, by the time I gave birth to her, I had been so burnt out from pushing with the business and trying to do all the things to almost losing my husband to then going through IVF that I took 6 months. And I was like, bare minimum, I am like, if you're an existing client, I'm doing your work and that's all I'm doing. I'm doing nothing more, nothing less. And that was my reset period. So
Good
I
for
came
you.
back in and I definitely, it took me the 6 months to feel like I was ready to set foot back in my office and try to even look at my business. And
Hmm.
when I came back into the office last year in January, I sat there and I'm like, okay, was like, I've been out so long. I'm a different person, clean slate. Where do,
Yeah.
what do I want? What do I want this to look like? What have I had in the past that might have been a symptom of my burnout and me not really being able to give it my full, like the best it could be, to end up kind of reassess everything. And since coming back in my office from that burnout period, my business has changed so much since January of last year to now that things are drastically different. And part of it is what I went through with IVF and everything before it. And
Mm-hmm.
part of it is you learn a strength with IVF, and especially trying to do something else hard while going through IVF, while going
Yeah.
through whatever, that you kind of learn. For me, I have this thought now of, if I could go through IVF, I can do almost anything.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Well, and you're
whatever
also
it
at a
is.
different stage of your life as well, right? And I think that this is a really like great reminder to people that like you had your business one way and how you were growing it and everything before, but like life happened like it does to all of us. And because of that, that caused you to shift how you did things, who you wanted to work with, and how you wanted to grow the business, which is amazing because it now is fitting into this stage of your life, which may end up being different, right? 2, 3, 5 years down the road. And I think that that's something that we need to remember as individuals and entrepreneurs is that whatever stage of life that you're in at that moment, that's great. And be okay with shifting. Be okay with taking the break. Be okay with breaking it down and saying, okay, we're starting over, clean slate. Where do we go from here? I think it's beautiful that you've had the ability to do that. And thank you so much for sharing that because I don't think that people realize because we're all in our own heads and stuff like that that like people that are building businesses and people that are living everyday lives have tons of crap that's going on in the background. You just don't see it, and a lot of us just don't talk about it. We just grit our teeth and we go through it. And I love showing this side of real life because these are the things that are happening behind closed doors. So
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
for
As I
sharing.
always, of course, I always say that social media is a highlight reel. It's it's all of the good moments and none of the bad. It's none of those moments where you feel like just throwing in the towel on your business and giving up because the fourth thing you've tried hasn't worked or whatever it is, or however that looks. And it's very much, be okay with the change. Be okay with pivoting, with figuring out something different, trying something new. One of the things I'm doing with this pregnancy is looking at, what do I want the business to look like when I come back from maternity leave
Nice.
so that I can navigate two kids. I'm fortunate that my mom is alive. We're in a situation where she has, her like mother-in-law suite upstairs. We have the downstairs. And so she's always here to help with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that it's going to be a change having another child in the house. So for me, it's, what does that look like bringing in another small child? And how can the business help me take care of my family without having to put too much strain on it? So that's one of the things I've been working on preparing this year, is, what does next year look like? And part of it
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of pivoting. And if it is something you can prepare for, like maternity leave or whatever, what does it look like afterward? Don't
Yeah.
just think about, and that's something I hadn't thought about, was, what does it look like on the other side? Don't focus on
Yeah.
just the maternity leave part. What is it on the other side of that? Because your life, going from either as a first time mom or having more than one, is going to be different. The needs and
Mm-hmm.
the demands are going to be different. And part of why I went into business was to enjoy the life, to live the life that I wanted, to be able to take a random day off and take my kids to the zoo or whatever. Like my dad did. He picked me up from school one day and took me to the Little Red Schoolhouse. And I felt so special. But it's those kinds of little memories that I want to be able to have with my kids, that
Mm-hmm.
I need to be able to have a business that does that. And that's kind of why I do what I do, because of all of my experience. I brought people in. I love to help people get to live life however that looks. And I love to have them help their business do that.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful piece to end on, Danielle. Well, do us all a favor. Tell everybody then, how can they find you? How can they follow you? How can they connect with you and be in your world?
So on my website, behindthescenesgenius.com, I am most active, as in I check it most, is my LinkedIn. I'm working on next year when I come back from maternity leave, starting up a YouTube channel. So that's something else I'm going to be starting next year. That's on the goals list for 2026.
That's awesome. We'll keep it out. Of course, we'll have all the information in the show notes for you guys to be able to connect with Danielle, work with a wonderful business mom who also wants to help other families be able to create space so their business can grow as well while working in the background. Danielle, any last words you would like to leave the audience with?
I don't think so. I know I have a favorite quote.
Ooh, I love quotes.
Okay. I have two, if it's cool for me to share.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
So my first one is a Harry Potter quote. Total Harry Potter nerd. If I could, I would show you the Harry Potter tattoo on my leg of this quote. I love it that much.
I love it.
So the quote it's one of the lines from Dumbledore. I don't remember which book. I want to say first or third. I could be wrong. Happiness can be found even in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. And I always try to have an optimistic outlook. And sometimes that's hard when you're in the thick of it. But trying to remember to be optimistic, to try to find the one thing, the bonus, what's the upside, what's the silver lining of it all, can help.
Oh, yes. I love that. I love Harry Potter. Okay, anyway, quote number 2.
Quote number 2. So in the IVF community, there is a very large, basically because there are so many meds, it's very common to get like a tackle box and put all sorts of IVF stickers. Little things for support. I did that. And one of the quotes became my guiding light every time I had to go into that box through the whole IVF process. And I don't know if it's a quote, I don't know who started it or where it came from, but it says, "Breathe, darling. This is just a chapter, not your whole story." And as an avid reader, for me, that kind of sunk in, like, it's just a chapter. It's not the whole book. The ending isn't written yet. It's not set in stone. We don't know how it's going to turn out.
Oh, I love that. That is such a beautiful reminder. And I love that too, because, what's really funny is when I came out of my abusive relationship, that was actually one of the things that I said. Everybody always says, "Oh, you always have a new chapter." And I was like, nope. We closed that book and I'm starting a brand new series. Like, screw that book. I don't want that. I don't want that connection anymore. But I love this. This is beautiful. The ending is not written, So thank you again, Danielle, so much for sharing your wisdom and your insight and being so open and honest with everyone to just talk about life in general. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. To everybody else out there, of course, we'll have all the information in the show notes so that you can connect with Danielle as well and be a part of her world. If you took anything away from this today, I hope it's the realization that we all live our own stories individually, and that is going to look different for every single person, even when there are similarities due to your upbringing, your perspectives, the way that you've been through certain things. And I know that COVID specifically, right, changed a lot of things for us. So be aware of this. Know that your journey does not have the ending written. I absolutely love that quote, Danielle. And until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. So until next time, have a fantastic day.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable